Shedeur Sanders is one step closer to being an NFL starter. We'll tell you why on today's episode of the Locked On Dynasty podcast.
You are Locked On Dynasty Football, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Dynasty podcast. I'm your host, Michael Fabiano. No, I'm not Marcus Mosher. You can find me on the X Machine at Michael_Fabiano. Today, I'm joined by Matt Williamson, who joins us every Wednesday. Matt's on X at Williamson NFL. And of course, we appreciate you for making us your first listen of the day and being an everyday listener on the show, which is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So, Matt, the big news in the NFL and across the fantasy landscape is that Joe Flacco is now playing for another team, another AFC North team, and he was traded to the Cincinnati Bengals. So let's break down what this means for Cincinnati. Now, we're not 100% sure as of this recording if Flacco's going to start in week 6 or if it's going to be Jake Browning. Does he have enough time to get himself acclimated to the offense? But I think a lot of questions here, right? Joe Flacco doesn't have a lot of dynasty value. We know that he's an old man. Mm-hmm. But what can he do for Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Chase Brown? Because their fantasy value, Matt, has gone into the can. Well, Jamar had a good game last week, but he's certainly not as trustworthy without Joe Burrow. What does Joe Flacco's presence in this offense mean for that trio? Let's start off with Jamar Chase.
Well, I think Joe's been pretty shot now the last 2 years. I mean, even that year, whenever he came off the couch and won comeback player of the year, he got really lucky. I mean, he was putting the ball in harm's way over and over and over, and he flipped the coin a bunch and it came up heads more often than tails, and it didn't kill him until the playoffs. Mm-hmm. So I don't think he's nearly the player he was even 2-3 years ago. But there's nowhere to go but up. I mean, Browning can't complete passes. He has no arm strength. He doesn't handle pressure at all. Not that Flacco is going to excel in that area, but Joe can still throw it. I mean, he's got a big arm, and he's going to understand where blitzes are coming from and to get it out of his hands, and all the hands in the air and the palms up that you see from Chase and Higgins, knowing that they're open and doing their job but can't get the football. So I think it helps both of them. I don't want to say dramatically, but it boosts them up at least a tier from where they were at. Now, I don't think it's going to help the Bengals win games. I think you're rearranging, chairs on the Titanic. But for fantasy reasons and for those two that we are so heavily invested in, yay. It's a shot in the arm,
At least Cincinnati is not throwing in the towel. And I got to be honest with you. I mean, Jake Browning, a couple of years ago when he played, he looked good.
He did. I don't know what happened.
Points per game. In one of my leagues, which is a super flex, I blew almost my entire budget on him because there's no quarterbacks that ever become available. And that didn't end up being the best move in the world, obviously. Mm-hmm. But is Flacco an upgrade? I mean, okay, I guess. Browning had, 8 interceptions? That was second in the NFL behind Geno. Flacco was third with 6.
He's only thrown 2 touchdowns all year.
If you look at like total like QBR, Brown is ranked higher than Flacco. It's not significantly higher.
Yeah.
When you look at EPA, which is expected points added per dropback, Browning ranks second worst among 33 qualified quarterbacks, but that's better than Flacco.
But Flacco's last.
So, I mean, I get it. I have Jamar. I don't have any shares of T. Higgins anywhere. I didn't like him coming into the season. Mm-hmm. But at least I have a glimmer of hope that maybe, and I think the Bengals are going to be playing from behind a lot, so Flacco's going to have to throw the ball a lot. Maybe
I also think he's going to get hit a lot.
A slight glimmer of hope that maybe this helps a little bit. But at the end of the day, I don't know that I'm increasing Jamar Chase's ranking among wide receivers or T. Higgins' ranking among wide receivers when we're talking about weekly rankings and a matchup this week against a Packers team that's good and coming off a bye.
Right.
So I don't know at the end of the day that this makes a ton of it's not a huge move from a fantasy standpoint. It's one of those, like you said, rearrange the chairs on the Titanic. At least maybe this chair will sink into the ocean maybe last. I guess.
A little slower, right? Yeah, but it's sinking.
So in terms of T. Higgins, though, and T. Higgins has, again, I mean, since Burrow went out, he's done nothing for the most part.
Right.
Any more faith in Higgins? Like Chase is on a different level. Chase is elite.
Right.
So, you know what Jamar is. Any more faith in Higgins, or sort of it's kind of what it was even when Browning was the quarterback?
A little bit as well, just because I think Flacco's going to, outside the numbers and jump balls and 50-50 stuff, I think Flacco's more likely to complete it and more likely to attempt it than Browning. And I think that favors Higgins a little bit. You know, we don't have anything else. We'll throw it to the 6'3" guy, and maybe he can make a play. But again, I mean, I like what you said to start the show, though. I mean, it shows that the Bengals aren't giving up. I really think, you know, dynasty and fantasy aside, that's all this move is trying to appease the locker room a little bit, show everyone in there that we're still in it. We haven't given up. We're still going to fight until Burrow comes back. But I bet they lose the next 2 or 3 in trade Henderson at the trade deadline, and all that's for naught, you know?
I mean, in fantasy, I would have rather had seen them go after Jameis Winston. Maybe New York wanted too much in terms of compensation. I don't know. You know, comparing the offensive lines, the Bengals, 50 player pressures and 15 sacks in 5 games allowed. The Browns, 54 player pressures and 11 sacks allowed. Flacco was completing 58% of his passes. That was it. So this was not this was not great. No Browns wide receiver averaged more than 8.4 points per game with Flacco. That was Cedric Tillman. Jerry Jeudy and Flacco's 4 starts, 28 targets. That was a team high. Jerry Jeudy has done nothing. And we're going to talk about Jerry Jeudy later on the program when we talk about the mailbag. But let's go to Chase Brown. Here's maybe one good thing. 21% of his passes went to running backs in Cleveland.
Yeah.
So is that a good sign for maybe Chase Brown being more involved in the passing game?
Slightly, I guess, but he's been extremely disappointing. And I think the beauty of Chase Brown in the preseason was not his immense talent or what a great player he is. It's volume on a great offense. And maybe gets a little more volume on a not great offense now, but I don't think he's not this untapped talent that all of a sudden is going to get unleashed. Maybe Flacco would, in his wisdom, comes to the line of scrimmage and checks to a run more often. Maybe. I mean, but what's that? 2 more carries a game? You know, I mean, I'm stretching things, but things were so bad in Cincinnati. I kind of think there's nowhere to go but up. But the numbers that you've cited are exactly how Flacco's played. It's not an anomaly at all. He's not good.
Yeah. I remember, too, a lot of those targets to running backs came early with Dylan Sampson before Quinshon Judkins reemerged. He's been awesome. We're going to talk about the Browns here in a second. So the Bengals upcoming schedule, you got the Packers coming up this week. Then you got the game against the Steelers. Mean Joe Green, by the way.
I noticed. Nice.
Love that. Listen, you know, as a disgruntled Dallas Cowboys fan, I've decided that I can wear throwback jerseys of any team that I want because I'm just going to have fun with football. Then they've got the Jets.
That's a good one.
They've got the Bears, and then they have a bye week. And so I think we can both agree that we're not expecting Joe Flacco to be some sort of magical elixir for the dynasty or fantasy value of Chase, T. Higgins, or Chase Brown, but at least they're trying something different.
Yeah, I mean, what they were doing was miserable and was not working.
Right, exactly. All right, so next up, Matt and I are going to get into how this affects the Browns and the quarterbacks and the offense, including Shedeur Sanders and what we can expect moving forward in Cleveland. You're listening to the Locked On Dynasty podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love how FanDuel gives me so many ways to play. I've built parlays, player props, and even followed the lines during games. It makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little bit something riding on the action. So whether you're just a casual fan or you love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. All right, Matt, let's bring it back here. We got to talk Browns. And maybe the Browns, maybe this is like the biggest fantasy impact in Dynasty as a result of this trade. Because now Dylan Gabriel's the dude. Dylan Gabriel's the guy that we're going to be at least starting in some of our leagues, right? And I think the bigger name, and people are, of course, going to talk about this, is Shedeur Sanders. So let's first talk about Gabriel. Now he's the guy. And do you think he's going to be a startable asset in fantasy leagues moving forward as the starter?
2 quarterback and super flex only, you consider it. He doesn't run as much as you think, but he does give you something with his legs, which is good. I think Stefanski does a really good job of scheming up quick hitting, system fitting things for him, and particularly the tight ends. So Fabs, I've done a ton of Browns homework this week because they're coming to Pittsburgh this week.
Yeah.
So I digging in heavy and stuff for Steelers.com. And an inordinate amount of targets to the tight ends last week. And I think that's going to really keep up. So I think that's friendly to him in a Tua-like manner too. Get it out quick, over the middle, be efficient. He did throw as many touchdowns as Flacco did all season. I know it's 2, but in 1 game. So it's slightly encouraging. But I do think Judkins is going to be the engine of the offense. They don't want to throw a lot, and they have a really good defense. So I think they can get away with that. So I don't see a lot of volume here.
Judkins has been such a steal.
Yeah.
I told people to take the dip, and a lot of people did not agree with it, thinking that he wasn't going to play for the Browns. And I mean, come on, folks. Of course he was going to play. We just didn't know when.
Just don't want to.
And not for nothing, but there were some running backs who got drafted ahead of him that I would much rather have taken Judkins at this point, even though he missed a little bit of time. I mean, he's just phenomenal, and he's been really, the centerpiece of that offense, and that's going to continue. But back to Gabriel. Now, his first start, Minnesota's good. He only had 190 passing yards. He had 2 touchdowns. He had 16 points. So you'll take that from Dylan Gabriel. And as you mentioned, I mean, in 2 QB leagues, yes. I mean, in traditional fantasy, we're probably not going to see Dylan Gabriel start in a lot of games. You mentioned that he went to the tight end, and I think that's something that we need to keep tabs on moving forward. In that first start, 39.4% of his pass attempts went to tight ends.
Yeah.
And David Njoku had the biggest game of the season, and it was a surprise, and it was a pleasant surprise because we had kind of been like, oh man, David Njoku is not going to be the guy. It's going to be Harold Fannin. But Fannin also got some burn as well. The Browns are going to continue to run a lot of 12. And if Gabriel, we've seen that, right? I mean, Jameis Winston loved Jerry Jeudy. Last year, Jeudy was great when Winston played. He's not so much anymore. But could this potentially be the start of something good for Njoku, who has not lived up to expectations, at least not in the first 4 weeks? Suddenly he gets a big target share, has a big fantasy game, and Dylan Gabriel is targeting him much more than Flacco did over the first few games of the season.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that I need 1 game to see that because I've been a Njoku fan. He's really good after the catch. I mentioned earlier, I think Stefanski's done a really good job over the past couple of years of scheming things up for him, tunnel screens to tight ends, things like that, layup throws. They're not necessarily, difficult plays. Now, I'm sure we'll probably get into this, but I also worry, could Njoku and especially Jeudy be on the trade block too? Because, this team's not going anywhere. And it's been a massive youth movement. They've played more rookie snaps than any team in the league, and their rookie class looks pretty darn good. So do they want to make wave, for the young receivers and Fannin and get every draft pick they can and move these guys, which might not be bad for Dynasty either.
Yeah. Yeah. If Fannin ends up being the featured tight end, and he will at some point in his career, obviously, because, Njoku's in a contract here, he could end up being, one of the better tight ends in fantasy football. No question about that. And I wouldn't actually mind so much to have those 2 guys split up. Let's be honest, down the stretch, if the Browns can flip Njoku to a team that needs a tight end, and there are certainly a lot of teams who need a tight end because tight ends become a dumpster fire across the league and certainly in fantasy leagues, that would be a win. When we talk about the Browns, you have to talk about Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah.
And, I know his dad, Dion, said, I don't give a what about the Browns, etc. Flacco got traded. Do you feel like Dillon Gabriel's leash is going to be short? And is there a world where Shedeur Sanders finishes the season as the Browns starting quarterback? Because I think now, you went from they had a ton of quarterbacks to now they only have 2. And they have Deshaun Watson. I don't know what's going on with him. I mean, I don't know if he's playing football this season. But is there a world where Shedeur Sanders is the starter for the Browns at some point in the next month if Dillon Gabriel can't get the job done? Would Cleveland hurt Gabriel's confidence like that and hand the job over to Shedeur at some point?
Yes, because they're the most, willy-nilly team in the league with the quarterback position. I mean, Gabriel is their 10th starter since Baker Mayfield. I mean, let alone going back to the jersey. It starts with Tim Couch with 9 million names on it.
Yeah.
So I'm expecting another quarterback change. And I'm not even expecting Gabriel to be a flop, but I'm expecting another change. And you kind of mentioned it half-heartedly, but could Watson come in that last month? And
yeah, I don't know. I mean,
I don't think that's nuts.
Right. I mean, so what is he like? He's like 8 months removed from the surgery.
Yeah.
And he's currently on reserve PUP. But I think, isn't he eligible to practice?
I think so.
I don't think that he has. So, I mean, that would be insane.
It'd be insane, but this organization does these things,
Right. I mean, they paid him a whole lot of guaranteed money. He's done nothing. Mm-hmm. So not only is Gabriel's starting job, I guess, tenuous, Sanders is looming, but so is, at the end of the year, Watson. Like, do the Browns actually, if he can play, if he's healthy enough to play, do the Browns kick the tires one more time on Deshaun Watson down the stretch and see what he's got left?
I mean, it's easy to laugh at them, and their quarterback carousel is laughable. But the one thing they have to know when the season ends is, do we need a quarterback, or is one of the 3 now possibly the answer? I mean, you have to know that answer because you have 2 first-round picks. One of them should be high. Do we need a quarterback or not? And if that means everyone gets 5 starts from here on out or 3 starts from here on out, including Watson and Sanders and whoever's best, we'll see. I kind of understand it. It's dysfunction junction, but I mean, it's still, you have to know that answer. That's the most important thing of the season is, do we have a quarterback in the building or not?
With Gabriel under center or Sanders at some point, maybe down the stretch, any faith in Jerry Jeudy resurrecting whatever fantasy value he has left?
Not really. I was a big sell Jeudy high last year that this is going to be the best season of his career. I always thought he was an overrated football player in general. As you mentioned, Winston adored him, and that was great. But he's down my list in terms of who I'd want on the Steelers or, in the real world too. Mm-hmm. And I do think he could get traded, and that might be the perfect time to trade him off your dynasty team too. He goes to a decent team, whoever, and boom, sell that spike, Yeah,
bottom line, I believe it was 7 games that Jameis started last year, and Jerry Jeudy averaged over 20 points per game. In every other game with every other quarterback, 9-10 points per game average. Jerry Jeudy's you're hoping he gets traded because right now in Dynasty, his value is very low. And you had mentioned it, he would have been a perfect sell high last year when he did finish in the top, 15 among wide receivers. But now that opportunity to sell high on Jerry Jeudy is clearly long gone. Next up, we're going to answer some of
last thing, Fabs, real quick.
Yeah,
I apologize. I do think they want to see what they have in Isaiah Bond too.
Sure.
They've been getting him more and more and more involved, for the same reason, playing rookies,
Yeah, Bond. And it's funny too, because, Bond didn't get drafted because of off-field stuff. And right. Cedric Tillman is, out now. So he'll get an opportunity, but it seems like it's right in the Browns sort of wheelhouse, that kind of thing. So next up, we're going to answer some of your social media questions. You, of course, are listening to the Locked On Dynasty podcast. on the Locked On Podcast Network.
I'm Cody Rourke from Locked On Broncos, and this episode is brought to you by Peloton. Peloton is shaping the future of fitness with the brand new Peloton Cross-Training Tread Plus, powered by Peloton IQ. This is Peloton's most advanced equipment yet, giving you real-time guidance and endless ways to move, whether you're running, lifting, or you're cross-training with your favorite instructors like Alex Toussaint. It's training reimagined to make your workout more personal. Peloton is built for breakthroughs with features that help you plan, stay motivated, and hit peak performance. You can let yourself run, lift, flex, and go while Peloton handles all the rest. Plus, Peloton IQ provides real-time strength coaching, tracking your progress and suggesting weights that challenge you so you can get stronger. Plus, the new movement tracking camera, it counts your reps and corrects your form in real time, making sure every rep is safer and smarter. So let yourself run, lift, flex, push, and go. Explore the new Peloton Cross-Training Tread Plus at onepeloton.com.
Welcome back. Let's get to the mailbag here, Matt. And we got some questions. One of them was about Jerry Jeudy, and I think that we did cover Jerry Jeudy's fantasy value. His dynasty value is basically sunk right now. If you were looking to trade him, though, Matt, what are we looking to get in return in terms of draft capital?
Do you think a second is too rich?
I do.
You don't think you'll get that?
Traded.
Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless he gets traded.
Unless he gets traded. Yeah.
Yeah. Unless he gets traded, I think that's probably a little bit too rich. For me, I'm probably more looking at maybe a 3. I mean, listen, Jerry Jeudy, even back to his time in Denver, what did Steve Smith Sr. say about him? Right or wrong, the way he came out, Jerry Jeudy has not lived up to expectations. I mean, this guy is a first-round pick. And outside of 7 games with Jameis Winston, he has not really been an elite wide receiver or even a good fantasy wide receiver. Another question from Joshua Redding on X. I think this is a really good question. What has happened to this vaunted running back class? Travion Henderson not living up to expectations. Caleb Johnson not even close. RJ Harvey. Did we drastically overvalue these running backs based on the draft process, or is it just a matter of patience? So I want to get your take first on Travion Henderson.
Well, first off, I think patience is probably the right word for now,
Mm-hmm.
And as an overhaul of the class, when I did my draft prep, I would, like everybody else, was very impressed with the class. Boy, I like a lot of these prospects. It's deep. But I will say, after the NFL draft happened, I ended up with very few of them in my rookie drafts just because I didn't love landing spots. I wasn't blown away with how it all shook out, I guess. Now, Henderson's someone I'm still very bullish on because I think that offense is massively on the rise. Gibson just got hurt. What's-his-face can't hold on to the ball. Stevenson can't hold on to the ball at all. Remember, it's Josh McDaniels in charge of everything there, and there's a lot of James White plus kind of feel to pass catching in the future for this guy. So I'm jumping on the Patriot train on offense.
With Henderson, I didn't like what I heard from Mike Vrabel when he was asked last week about, having a running back like James Cook. And he basically didn't say it directly, but seemed to mention that, maybe he doesn't have that kind of guy on his roster right now, or they would use him. So that concerns me a little bit. But now Trevion's going to get an opportunity. So I think I agree with you there with Antonio Gibson out. Not that he was seeing a lot of touches, but he was seeing some touches. Maybe Trevion starts to hit his stride a little bit here, maybe gets a little bit more of the football. I think the two other guys, and we'll start with Caleb Johnson, because you're obviously very close to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Jaylen Warren was signed to an extension, and Kenneth Gainwell's looked good. He had 31 points against Minnesota before the bye week. I know it's 5 weeks, but I mean, where are we at with Caleb?
I mean, you can't dump him now, but the fact that he was not hardly used in Dublin to me speaks volumes. Because I mean, I did the Steeler pregame show in Dublin, and I'm going, well, maybe they just throw him in the deep end and he sinks or swims, and Gainwell will end up with 5 to 10 touches in this game. Well, that's not the way they looked at it at all. I think it might be next year. Who knows? But Warren even got hurt, and then they called up Trey Sermon. I don't know if Trey Sermon's ahead of him or not. I mean, nobody seems to know that part. So if an injury or two occur, maybe he's in the mix, but not even guaranteed. And he needs volume, and he's not going to get volume.
Yeah, definitely not a sparkling start to his NFL career.
No.
And if Gainwell sticks around, I mean, that's going to be really tough for Caleb Johnson to make an impact. I'm going to preach patience with RJ Harvey, much like you did with Trevion. Listen, J.K. Dobbins is a good running back, and Marcus and I had a conversation about this in the preseason. I said, dude, Dobbins is going to be the starter. Like, he's a good player. He's in the prime of his career. It was all about the injuries. RJ Harvey's had one good game, and it was a game where he got a lot of touches late. I don't see, outside of Dobbins getting hurt, which is certainly a possibility, I don't see a path to RJ Harvey being a impactful fantasy player as a rookie. But remember, JK is on a short-term deal. So that doesn't necessarily mean that Harvey won't be the starter in 2026. So I think you preach patience with Harvey.
And you implied this too. By no means do I hope it happens, because I think Dobbins is really good, but his injury history is extensive. Do we think he's going to finish the season? I would bet against it.
Yeah. So maybe I hope not.
Of course. Right.
I'm a fan of his game, but Harvey is a guy that maybe, if things go the way they have gone for JK, could end up being a league winner in the second half. So obviously patience there. Danny on Facebook, what would you give up in terms of draft capital to acquire Travis Hunter in Dynasty right now? It looks like Danny wants to try and buy low on him. I'm going to let you answer this one, because I do not like what I've seen from Travis Hunter's usage as a wide receiver. And I'm very concerned that we are going to end up getting burned with him in the long term.
I'm kind of the other way around. I think we talked about him 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago when I was on a Wednesday, and I've done more and more homework on the situation. And trust me, I think this is going to be a patience type of situation, which I know everyone wants a quick fix, and I understand that. But the more homework I've done just on the Jags schematically, and Liam Cohen coming over from Tampa, it's one of the most complex offenses in the league, and their defense is one of the most complex in the league. So not only is he biting off more than anybody ever has, they're bigger bites. They're not as digestible. And I think he is a smart, aggressive young man in terms of putting in the work. But I think we were just getting way too ahead of our skis of what to expect from him right off the bat. And I'm not saying that just because he's flashed on Monday night. I mean, but that was nice.
He flashed. He didn't do anything in fantasy, though. I mean, that's
one big catch. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So what's the price tag?
Generic future first.
It's still a first?
For me, it is. I was so smitten with him, though. I might not be the right person to ask, because as a prospect of just a wide receiver, he's one of the few that I thought could hit the Chase Jefferson level. Yeah, I mean, I think he's that special athletically.
Yeah, I think the problem, too, is that Jacksonville's pass offense is just broken right now. I mean, they are not getting the job done. Brendan Strange was their most reliable receiver. Now he's out. Maybe that means more opportunities across the board. But listen, while Travis Hunter's playing both ways, it's really hard for me to consider him seriously ever getting to an elite level from a fantasy standpoint. Last one here, Steve on Facebook. Would you trade a first-round pick for Javonte Williams in Dynasty? Steve needs a running back, and he's saying that Williams is still in the prime of his career.
The only way I'd even consider it is I'm like the best team in the league. My running backs are getting crushed by injury. I'm going to kind of push my chips in to try to win it this year, because he is super productive, and I trust their run scheme and their offense overall and their coaching staff on that side of the ball a great deal. But deep down, it's a bit of an overpay.
It is. I would say this: the uncertainty about his future is what would hold me back. A first-round pick is a lot of draft capital for a player who's ultimately been a disappointment in the NFL. Would I flip you a second for him right now if I'm in a situation where I need a running back? I would.
Yeah.
Because if he sticks in Dallas, and I don't think he's going to go out and make a ton of money, even if he has a massive season this year, we could get some good years from Javonte Williams. Mm-hmm. And the Cowboys historically have always had good fantasy running backs. I mean, listen, Javonte, I'm not going to mistake him for Emmitt Smith or Tony Dorsett or anyone like that, even Ezekiel Elliott, but he's getting the job done. I mean, he's in the top three right now in running back points. Yeah. So it's not like he's not getting the job done, but a first round pick with the uncertainty in terms of his future, where he's going to be in 2026 and beyond, that would keep me away from a first round pick. I like being aggressive, but I think a second round pick is certainly aggressive enough, Matt, when it comes to trying to make a trade for Javonte Williams.
Yeah, and that's why I'd only do it if I think it's going to be the 12th pick and it puts me over. And it still would probably be like Javonte in the third for that late first. And you still don't sleep real easy at night doing that.
Exactly. All right. Well, hey, thank you everyone out there for making Locked On Dynasty your first listen of the day. For your second listen, get a double dose of the Locked On NFL podcast. Tyler the Madman Rowland gives you a shot of espresso to start your football day, while Tony Wiggins takes you into the barber shop for the smoothest breakdowns to end the day. Find Locked On Dynasty on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. And join me tomorrow when my buddy and actor James Roday Rodriguez will be joining the show to talk Dynasty and some other nonsense. We appreciate you guys listening in. We'll see you tomorrow.